Barbara called the cops on my fertilizer, so I replaced it with 50 pounds of Peruvian bat guano. By sundown, the whole neighborhood smelled like victory and ammonia, and that's how the war over my hydrangeas began. It started as one of those perfect May mornings. Warm sun, soft wind dirt under my nails, and that peaceful rhythm of gardening that clears your head. I was kneeling in the soil, spreading my usual fish emulsion, a little funky, sure, but natural, honest. That's when her shadow crossed over me. A shadow that somehow smelled like hand sanitizer and authority. Barbara Hernandez, president of the Oakwood Estates HOA. Pink polo, spotless khakis visor, white enough to blind a man, clipboard clutched like a weapon. She didn't even say hi. Just, Mark, this stench is unacceptable. I laughed, thought she was joking. You mean the fertilizer? It's organic, Barbara. Her nose wrinkled. It's foul. I've had complaints. Which I knew meant she'd complained to herself. Then she pulled out a laminated pink slip like it was a court summons. Official warning. You have 48 hours to abate the smell, or it's $50 a day. I stared at her then, at the flowers I'd spent months nurturing. Abate the smell, I asked. It's fertilizer, Barbara. What do you want me to do, fevers the dirt? She just said, your methods are not my concern, turned on her squeaky clean sneakers and marched off. That night I sat on my porch looking at my garden, that stupid laminated notice glowing in the porch light. $50 a day. For dirt. The anger started to simmer, low and steady. It wasn't about the smell, it was about control. Barbara wanted a neighborhood that looked like a catalog photo, no bugs, no noise, no scent of life. Perfect plastic suburbia. Fine, I muttered. You want me to abate the smell? I'll abate it. I went inside, opened my laptop and typed, strongest organic fertilizer. A few clicks later, I found it bat guano. The good stuff. Ancient Incas used it, said one article. Extremely potent. May have a strong, musky, ammonia-like odor. That line right there, that was destiny calling. Next morning, I called the number from a shady gardening forum. A gravelly voice answered Sal's soils. Hi, I said. Do you, sell bat guano? He grunted. What kind we talkin', seabird or the good stuff? The good stuff, I whispered. He chuckled. HOA problems. Yeah, I admitted. Thought so. Kid, you don't use guano, you deploy it. This is nitrogen artillery. By the time he said 50 pounds, $100 cash, I was in. But I didn't stop there. I wanted this to be poetic. So I made flyers, official-looking ones. Green and white, clean font. A note on our neighborhood's new eco-friendly initiative. Sounded bureaucratic, didn't it? I wrote. In response to feedback about our previous fertilizer, we've upgraded to a superior organic product premium, Peruvian bat guano. That musky aroma, that's the smell of science. It was beautiful. Passive-aggressive perfection printed 20 times over. The next day, Sal showed up in a rusty pickup that looked like it survived the Dust Bowl. He was a mountain of a man, beard overalls gold tooth. Mark right, he said, dropping 2 massive burlap sacks onto my lawn with a wet thud. Fresh from the cave. You'll smell it before you see results. I could smell it through the bag. Holy. Wear a mask, he warned. You're not frosting a cake, you're dusting for destruction. When he drove off, I dragged the sacks to the backyard, geared up like a hazmat worker, N95 gloves, goggles. Then I sliced one open. It wasn't just a smell. It was an event. The air thickened. The earth groaned. It was like 1,000 bats screaming in my face. I staggered back, eyes watering, laughing like a lunatic. This, I said, is the smell of freedom. So I spread it. Every inch of my garden, every flower bed, every blade of grass near Barbara's fence got a generous dusting. The air turned visible with the stuff. When I finished, I bagged up the evidence, showered twice, and still smelled like a cave. Then I started phase 2. I walked the neighborhood with my flyers, slipped one on every mailbox post, every bulletin board, and of course I saved the last one for Barbara's perfect front door. I folded it neatly and tucked it under her shiny brass handle like a peace treaty soaked in irony. 15 minutes later, her door burst open. She stepped out in neon workout gear, took one breath, and gagged. "Mark," she screamed. "What is this smell?" I raised my beer. "Oh, hey, Barbara, you got the flyer." She waved it like a weapon. "You did this on purpose." "I did exactly what you asked," I said. I abated the fish smell. "This is the upgrade." Her face went red. "This is harassment. It's a biohazard." "Nope," I said, calm as a monk. "It's eco-friendly. The smell of science." She shrieked something about calling the police. I told her, "Go ahead. Tell them about the chitin." 20 minutes later, a police cruiser rolled up. 2 officers stepped out, one old one barely out of school. The rookie took one sniff and almost gagged. The older one sighed like this was his 1,000th HOA call. "Afternoon, sir," he said. "We got a complaint about a toxic odor." "Oh, no toxins here, officer," I said politely, handing him one of my flyers. "It's just fertilizer." He read it, mustache twitching. "But guano, the good stuff, high nitrogen." Before he could say more, Barbara stormed out, camera rolling. "Officers, he's assaulting me with a smell." The old cop didn't even blink. "Ma'am, it's fertilizer." "It's feces," she shouted. "So's cow manure, ma'am," he said flatly. "People use it all the time." The rookie, now Googling, piped up, "Yeah, it's agricultural grade, actually." I smiled. See, commercially recognized. Barbara's jaw fell open. The cop handed her flyer back. "No crime here, ma'am. Civil matter." Then they left. She stood there, phone limp in her hand, completely defeated. "This isn't over," she yelled. "Oh, I'm counting on it," I said, raising my beer again. But that night, lying in bed, I started to doubt myself. Maybe I'd gone too far. Maybe this was childish. Maybe I was the problem. For a second, I even thought about apologizing. But then I looked out the window at my garden, the one place in this sterilized neighborhood that still looked alive. I remembered why I fought back. It wasn't about fertilizer. It was about being left alone to live naturally without someone micromanaging my dirt. 2 days later, Barbara called an emergency HOA meeting. I showed up early, flyers in hand. The clubhouse was packed, neighbors standing in the back whispering. Barbara stood at the podium. PowerPoint projected behind her giant red X over my garden, a picture of a bat on the next slide. "This man," she thundered, "has assaulted our community with noxious filth." I sat there smiling, waiting. Then she proposed a $200 per day fine. Retroactive. Property values, she said, were plummeting. That word, property values, made the crowd murmur. I stood. "Mind if I respond?" The room quieted. I walked to the front, held up my laminated violation notice. Barbara fined me for my fish fertilizer and told me to abate the smell. I complied. I stopped using it. I researched a more sustainable organic option, commercially sold, legally recognized. That's this. "It's poop," she shouted. "It's guano, Barbara," I said. "And so is half the manure in this room's flower beds." A few people laughed. I went on. "The bylaw says noxious odors. That's subjective. The smell of cut grass bothers people with allergies. Barbecue smoke offends vegans. Where do we draw the line?" For a moment, nobody spoke. Then Gary, my quiet neighbor, stood up. "Look, it did stink for a day," he admitted. "But my dog's allergies have been better since Mark went organic. His yard's alive, and Barbara, your pool pump's been whining for 6 months. Are we fining you for noise pollution?" The room erupted in murmurs. Heads nodded. Barbara's mouth opened and closed like a fish. One board member, Tom, cleared his throat. "We, can't enforce vague rules. Could be a lawsuit." Barbara slammed her gavel, shouting something about order, but the tide had turned. A vote was called. 2-1. Fine dismissed. Case closed. Barbara's face turned scarlet. She gripped the podium like it might save her from drowning. Meeting adjourned, she snapped and stormed out. I walked out behind her, the air still carrying the faint, earthy scent of victory. A week later, the smell was almost gone, replaced by something richer, cleaner. My hydrangeas had exploded into color deep blue, almost glowing. Barbara passed by once, no visor, no clipboard. She stopped, stared at the flowers, then at me. For a moment she looked almost human, stunned, jealous, maybe even impressed. She said nothing, just walked on. I watched her go, turned back to my garden, and whispered, "Smells like victory." Because in the end it wasn't about fertilizer or bylaws. It was about standing your ground literally and proving that some things are worth getting your hands dirty for.